Everybody. I can't forget gavel. I'd like to call the Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee to order at 9:03 on this Tuesday, February 3rd. Nice and balmy, 20 degrees compared to other days. So I think we'll start with roll call.
Ms. Pichetti?
Here.
Mayor Gallo?
Here.
Ms. McPherson? Mr. Sleesman?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. So we have two items on the agenda this morning, the approval of minutes, and then we're going to hear about a procurement proposal. So I think for our committee members here, you have the minutes in front of you. Any questions or comments on that? And if there are none, could I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve, Sleesman.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And motion passes. Okay, so those minutes are approved from January 6th. And we'll move on. I'd like to welcome Nick Davidson and Scott Lawson up to the podium for contracted paratransit services. It's a recurring competitively negotiated procurement for contracted paratransit services for a period of 3 years. Sorry, were you supposed to read that? Okay.
No, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Ms. Pichetti, members of the committee, members of the board. I'm Nicholas Davidson, District Director for Paratransit. I wanted to talk to you first about our operational priorities. We established these in 2019, myself, Dr. Kaver, in conjunction with Reverend Lucas. And our operational priorities are leveraging our scheduling technologies, improve the customer service experience, modernize the communication technology, increase our on-time performance, and reduce our onboard travel times. Keeping those in mind, I want to present to you an overview of our paratransit service. We'll review our current third-party contracts. We're going to recommend and our recommended new third-party service arrangement, and then I'll turn it over to Scott Lawson to present the procurement overview. Paratransit is required by the Americans with Disability Act of 1990, and it requires that we provide paratransit service for individuals who have a disability and are unable to utilize fixed route because of that disability. We are not allowed to deny any trips and must provide any trip requested for an ADA eligible trip. Those trips must be equivalent in days and hours of service. So if the fixed route is running, paratransit has to provide service within that geographic area. Currently, RTA provides approximately 46% of the total paratransit service, with our third-party contractors delivering the other 54%. Of that 54% that we do outsource, approximately 55% is provided by Provider Ride, 35% is currently provided by GC Logistics, and 10% is provided by STC, or Senior Transportation Connection. As we've communicated with the board in past presentations, ridership continues to grow. In 2025, we delivered approximately 130% of our pre-COVID level demand. Internally, we are growing. We are in the midst of putting in 19 new cutaways into service, 14 of which are in service. 3 have been signed off through all the inspections, are awaiting the final temp tags, and then we have 2 more that will be signed off and in service here in the coming days. And again, RTA is not allowed to deny any service. So we're continuing to grow both externally and internally. Just a picture of what that has looked like. Prior to COVID, our system average per month was about 40,500 trips. We went above that in February of 2023 and have never dropped below that and have continued to grow. So I want to talk a little bit about what our customers are saying about paratransit. Our Net Promoter Score is currently 71, and it's stayed between 65 and 75 over the last number of waves. So each quarter we do a survey of our customers. Each quarter we receive approximately 400 surveys back from our customers, so a fairly significant number. And we ask them, how likely are you to recommend the service to a neighbor or friend? And overwhelmingly, we receive very positive response. So that's 71. That's not 0 to 100. That's actually negative 100 to a positive 100. So that's a very good score. To put that in perspective, nationally, our national paratransit average is about 33. So we're well above the national average. To talk a minute about our operators and our customer satisfaction with that. So 88% of our respondents agree that our operators are driving safely. And when I say our operators, these surveys are reflective of the entire service, not just internal service. So this is both internal and contracted operations. So 88% of our drivers are driving safely in the eyes of our customers, and 89% agree that they're satisfied with the overall performance of the operator. So our customer satisfaction is very high. And 86% of respondents say that the operators are friendly and helpful. So looking at why are we doing, why are our trips important, 56% of our customers' trips are related to healthcare. There's some shopping, some leisure, so groceries, social activities, but there's also a percentage in there for work, for religious activities, education, and a few in other. So to review our current contract, so our current contract began June 1st of 2023, and it expires May 31st of this year. Our current contract does have 2 one-year options, and that goes from June 1st of this year to May of next year. And then the second option year will go from June of 27 through May of 28. Currently, we have 3 contracted providers, which is, again, Provider Ride, GC Logistics, and Senior Transportation Connection. In August, we came to you and to increase the appropriation for the current contract as demand had grown significantly. And we committed at that time that we would go out to market to see if we couldn't drive the cost down. We really wanted to drive the cost down, but it's important to us that we maintain the quality of the service for our customers. We have a very high satisfaction, and we want to make sure that any move that we make we're able to maintain that. So we use the RFP to account for both market demand and growth, and we drove that cost down through realigned insurance requirements. And at that time, we also used the RFP to improve the vehicle age. So the average age of the vehicles will be younger, and then improve the accessibility, so more accessible vehicles. So here we're going to recommend a new third-party service arrangement. This is slightly unique than in years past. What we're going to ask is that we award Provider Ride a 3-year contract with 2 one-year options. And then we're going to allow the GC Logistics contract to expire at the end of the base contract of May 31st of this year. And then we want to exercise option year 1 on the current contract with Senior Transportation Connection. So this is going to be a blend of the new RFP and a current contract. So currently, Provider Ride is that 55, GCL's that 35, and SCC's a 10. What we're looking for is Provider Ride is going to deliver 90% of the services in year 1. STC is going to provide 10% of the contracted services. We're currently in negotiations with that rate. So we'll exercise a 1-year option at a negotiated lower rate. And then as Provider Ride, should they be able to build the capacity to go from that 90 to 100%, year 2 and beyond, they'll be able to perform 90 to 100%. Which will yield a lower cost. What this looks like numbers-wise, option year 1, if nothing changed, if you look at the column of option year 1, here's where would be at if without any change in procurement. Each contractor has its own rate, and then when you look at the percentage, the way that calculates out, we have a blended rate of $70.25 per service hour. We deliver almost 250,000 service hours, and that's the projected hours for that next service year, which means that our annual cost for option year 1 or June of 26 through May of next year would be $17.4 million. Under the new structure, with that negotiated lower rate with provider ride and the expected or anticipated estimated rate for STC, that'll yield a blended rate of $64.17 for next year. So a little over $6 per service hour savings. That'll mean that that entire year will be $15.9 million, yielding a $1.5 million savings. And with that, I'll turn it over to Scott Lawson.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Pachetti, members of the board. My name is Scott Lawson. I am Contract Administrator 2 on this procurement. All right, the RFP was issued on October 19, 2025. It was accessed by 50 interested parties via the GCRTA website. Proposals were due November 18, 2025, with 8 firms proposed. The evaluation panel members included department members from service management, claims, customer experience and performance management, grants management and treasury, paratransit, and procurement. The evaluation criteria included the following items: objectively measured results achieved on similar contracts, qualifications and relevant experience, people strategy, scalability, capital resources and infrastructure, and cost. The recommended company is Future Age Incorporated, doing business as Provider Ride, located here in Cleveland, Ohio. Their experience includes they've been in business since 1989. The GCRTA has contracted paratransit service provider since 2008 with 100 plus specialized vehicles deployed strategically throughout Northeast Ohio. Also, Broker of the Year for Operational Excellence and Leadership and Quality Standards. Their clients include in partnerships, Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority, CareSource, United Healthcare, the Transportation Alliance, Non-Emergency Medical Transportation Accreditation Commission, and Medical Transportation Access Coalition, amongst others. The staff requests that the Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee recommend to the Board of Trustees the award of a 3-year contract to Future Age Incorporated, doing business as Provider Ride, in an amount not to exceed $52,300,000 with 2 one-year options in an amount not to exceed $20,900,000 for option year 1 and an amount not to exceed $22,800,000 for option year 2, for a total contract not to exceed amount of $96 million for the 5-year period. Are there any questions?
Thanks so much. I just have a few quick comments. The cost is not insignificant, but I just want to acknowledge and really appreciate the efforts your team has made, it sounds like, to bring the costs down and at the same time really keep the quality of service there and meet the demand that is rising. So just thank you for the presentation, the additional slides you provided for context. This is really important, and they all add a lot of value to the discussion. So thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee or the full board? Let's do committee first, and then, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to echo Trustee Pachetti in saying thanks for all you're doing to try to control costs and reduce those. And then also just a lot of pride around what you've been able to do with the Net Promoter Score and really deliver quality service. I had a great experience with paratransit recently. I was hosting an event in Midtown, and we had an attendee that was taking paratransit, and she had called me personally to ask if I could escort her into the building. I missed her call, but the driver took the time. I don't know if that's typical, but I thought it was above and beyond. So they escorted her, brought her inside, and I just really appreciated that. So thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate the sentiment.
Could you go back to that cost slide, that last one, comparing this one? Echoing appreciation, I think, like, this is the reason to do this, and it all makes sense to me, and makes good business sense. On the flip side, the risk of going this way is we have one provider now going for 90% of it, and with that would come, okay, what if they can't deliver the 90% of it and ramp up? So do we have either contingencies or terms in the contract or anything like that that'll go to, okay, you're going to have this plan and not just tell us you're going to do this, but like, we're ready for it?
They have been growing each month, so the 55% is a culmination of the contract. Last month, they delivered nearly 64%, so, and they're on a growth pattern. They have a number of new buses that they're currently receiving, and they have additional chassis on order. They are fully prepared to go to 100. We chose to throttle that back and go with the 90% just to make sure that we have a safe onboarding and allow them additional ramp-up period. They feel confident to go to 100 immediately. We're slowing that down, so we're in a good space.
Good, I think that's a good step to take, to be on good footing as we ramp up. Did you have a comment on that part? Because I have another line of questioning.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold you back. I just wanted to just piggyback Nick's answer. We asked that same question. We had a lot of debate round and round to make sure that we were doing this in the most economically, advantageous manner, but also making sure that we were doing it in leaning toward the most guarantee we could provide, right? When it comes to whether or not a provider can ramp up. And that was a big conversation, like they mentioned, the chassis on order, making sure the vehicles are there, making sure the manpower is there is something as well, because we always want to make sure that they've got their operators on deck to be able to kind of ramp up. The idea that 100% could be achieved immediately gave me pause. Just because just having the healthy skepticism as they're smiling, we opted for what you see in front of you, again, to make sure that we also have a slow walk into that potential 100%, but we also make sure that we keep the level of expertise and the level of know-how with STC there on board as well. There's a familiarity there with some of our customers, so we also don't want to just cut it off, so to speak. And the rate is under negotiation as well. We understand that typically STC has a higher rate than any one of our providers, so we took that in mind as well. And Provider Ride, I can say, I met with the president of Provider Ride. I would expect him to be here on the 17th. Okay. And had several one-on-ones when I got here in 2019 and 2020, right after COVID as well, to be able to think about how they could scale their business, right? We knew that they were taking the lion's share of some of our operations externally and had a lot of growing to do to make sure that they met our standard of excellence. And we had very real conversations, if I could say that, at that point. And they've been able to really make good on a lot of their promises. And so I think this is a very well-earned outcome of them taking on more of the business.
Which leads into my second line of questioning. I don't want to predetermine what's going to happen because I don't know, and I don't even know what's happening right now. So part of it is what's happening right now. But I do know in the past, Provider Ride has had worse numbers in terms of customer service than the rest. The data I've looked at are years old now, so I don't want to cast any dispersions on them now or in the future, but it's still there, and I can't ignore it, and I can't ignore the worry of ramping up to 90% given that record. So the two questions there are, like, have they gotten better so far? Do we have data on that? And then I would say, knowing that data there is in the past, again, like, either in the contract or otherwise, are we managing the risk of, you're operating vehicles that have both Provider Ride and RTA on the side of the vehicle. You're carrying our brand, though, and so we want to make sure that the quality of service is the best it can be. And so do we have specific steps that we're taking to make sure that that's the case? And I don't want to say that they have to be held to different standards, but the history is what it is.
Sure, I'll address several items. Several years ago, when there was concerns, we met regularly with them in conjunction with Reverend Lucas at the time, and really communicated that where we needed to get to. We've made leaps and bounds in that. We do have regular meetings with them about every 3 weeks. We meet with them and go over any operational issues, customer concern issues. They also operate Lytics, drive cam system. So very similar to this, it's the same Lytics drive cam system that we use to monitor behavior. They have active, beginning in our current contract, we had implemented not only the passive system that they use, but we required them to have active monitoring to provide better transparency over the customer experience. So it's not just triggered when driving items happen, but you can pull video for any conversation, any concerns, customer complaints we review. Regarding the age of the fleet, they actually have one of the younger fleets. They have gone above and beyond. So the contract mandates the percentage of accessible vehicles that each provider is required to meet. They've actually exceeded that, and their fleet is actually younger than the contract actually requires. So they've gone above and beyond to improve that over the years. Additionally, the Net Promoter Score and the customer satisfaction that you saw toward the beginning, that's not just a reflection of RTA. That's actually a reflection of the entire system. Currently, RTA operates about 44% of the service. They have about 55% of the contracted service, but that really translates to a little over half of that. So they have almost 30% of the share themselves currently. So when you really look at those Net Promoter Score, that's a reflection of the entire group. So we feel confident in the progress that they've made, the steps they've done, and the control measures that we have in place.
Speaking of those control measures, there will be something in there of you're expected to deliver such and such quality.
Absolutely. If you actually look at the metrics for performance, on-time performance, onboard time, they are within 1% of us, and sometimes their on-time performance is actually 0.5% higher, so they're right there with us.
Okay. Thanks, I appreciate that. I appreciate the measures taken. Again, I don't want to single them out or anything, but in the past they have had the worst numbers, so I just want to make sure that we're taking the right steps here.
It has changed.
Thanks.
No, I appreciate that question. And as you continue to track the metrics, we'll see how the numbers show. So other questions? Let's go with Trustee Love.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation this morning. And
sir.
Again, I think makes solid business sense. Just 2 points of clarification for my understanding. So the current distribution, would that remain the same between contracted and GCRTA going forward over that 5-year period?
So we're
46, 54?
Yeah, so we are currently growing internally. So we're going from 85. By December of 27, we'll have 100 vehicles in service. So we're trying to grow internally, and our contractors are, we're trying to do 2 things. We want a larger percent. I'd like more than 50% internally. That is my goal. That requires vehicles and personnel. So we're making moves. We've adjusted the number of internal positions that we have, as well as increased the number of vehicles that we have that plan together. We're also trying to keep up with demand. As you can see, we're delivering 130% of pre-COVID level service. So each year, in 2025, we experienced a 6% growth over 2024. So we're growing and trying to chase both growth and market share.
So the long-term strategy around paratransit is to
keep as much in-house.
Consume as much in-house.
Yes, sir.
Over time.
Yes, sir.
Take the growth. Yep. Thank you.
Yes. Go ahead, Mayor.
2 questions. Sticking for a minute on the cost structure, do we know, I assume we do, what our internal cost is? Obviously, you have overhead and you've got other kinds of factors, but have we compared ourselves to, I mean, this is an unusual situation where you sort of competing with yourself. But I just wanted to see how those numbers matched up.
We are very competitive with this. I'd say we're slightly cheaper. It's a little slightly different. When you look at this cost structure, it's purely per service hour. And RTA is absorbing all of the overhead for scheduling, for dispatching. In paratransit budget is also maintenance of the 214 non-revenue vehicles that the authority maintains. So there's some other things, but if you were to allocate that all out, and we would be right on par or cheaper.
Thank you. The other question was under the goals, I thought I saw something about realigning the insurance. I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, so I'll see if I can't find this slide. But essentially what we did is in the current contract, from the contract prior, we had actually doubled our liability limits. And on advice of our brokerage at that time, we looked back and did some analysis with our brokers and also with risk management, and looked at our loss and found that the liability limit was unnecessary. And so we realigned that back to that original $5 million liability limit rather than the 10. And that was a significant cost driver.
Okay. I'm assuming that our history of claims and that sort of thing justified.
Yes, sir. Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
If I may, Fonse, if you want to give a quick comment, I think it's important to note regarding the proposers and the national sort of perspective. And of course, gentlemen, jump in, but I know we've had significant conversation about that as well. MV stands out to me, for example. I think this makes a difference when we have local attraction to this versus a national component. And I'll just say before I ask him to speak on this, when we go to APTA, when we go to different organizations, there's a lot of business conducted where folks say, hey, you hear you've got paratransit. We'd love to take over your system. We'd love to be able to operate that for you. And there's a lot of private companies that do that, and they do it very well. But there's always a cost to it. So Dr. Kafer, if you'd like to talk about that for just a moment.
Yeah, please. Thank you, Ms. Terry. Ms. Pachetti and members of the board, I'm Fonse Kaver, the Chief Operating Officer here at the Greater Cleveland RTA. So when we came to you in August, we mentioned that we would go back out to market to see if the market would bear a different cost than the cost that we had picked up during the post-COVID era. Our proposal, our RFP, was marketed nationally, and we did have some national players bid on that. The national players have a bit of a cost to enter the market. They have to bring vehicles, rent a facility and things of that nature. And so for us, the national players were more than the local players as we were navigating. But we are, several years ago, what we did was these contracts, we used to have 3 contracts, and they would end on separate days. And probably in about the 2018, 2019 period, we made sure that they always end on the same day, so that if there is a national player that wants to come in or an aggressive local player like PAR, Provider Ride, then they're able to build a model that would make it worth them coming into our market. And so as we look at this contract, we're excited that it is a local vendor, but certainly after 3 years, we will still have a large enough piece that we hope that competition will ensure that we continue to get competitive prices. And so through this process, the prices, as you can see, did drop, and the competition in capitalism worked for this piece.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Okay, can you put it on the slide with
Yes.
the proposed recommendation? Thank you very much. So the recommendation is in front of you. Do I have a motion to move this forward to the full board?
So move, McPherson.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. So we'll move this to the full board. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm glad we get to spend a little extra time going deeper into this because it's so, so important. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
With that, there is no other business. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion Gallo.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Ms. Pichetti?
Here.
Ms. Elder?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. We have one item on the agenda, and that is to go into executive session to consider the employment, evaluation, and compensation of a public employee or official. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
A second, Pichetti.
We'll do a roll call.
Mayor Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Pichetti?
Yes.
Ms. Elder?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Just for those who may be listening in this morning, we don't anticipate taking any action after the executive session ends this morning. So with that, I believe we're relocating. Okay.
Just for awareness, we will be moving up to the upstairs room to be able to review for the committee. If we could make sure that George Fields and I believe Tony Garofoli will be on standby, if I'm not mistaken, at the behest of the committee chair and everyone else. We appreciate your patience. Yes.
Yes, Ms. Elder reminded me that I had not requested approval of the minutes. You do have draft minutes for the January 6th, 2026 meeting of the Compensation Committee. Are there any changes or corrections? Not, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Elder.
All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Thank you, Ms. Elder, for that. And we'll go into executive session. Brazil for a period of time.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
down there.
Interesting.
Yeah, they were in like 6 different cities.
On the south,
Well, and yeah, it's been so long since.
Santos is the other one we'll pass through. That's near. It's like a port city outside of Sao Paulo.
Okay. We're now coming out of executive session. Is there a motion to come out of? Please call the roll.
All right, Mayor Weiss.
Yes.
Ms. Pacchetti.
Yes.
Ms. Elder. Motion carries.
And unless there's any other business, we will stand adjourned. A motion to adjourn. I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second, Pachetti.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you.